Hey everyone, I'm Alexis and I decided to make a video to tell everyone about my experience with Thurner syndrome and, my symptoms, how I got diagnosed, and what's happened ever since. So it started off on November 3rd, 2016, and I started getting a lot of pain in my groin area, like a lot of pain. And, I just thought it was my menstrual cycle happening or something. And so I didn't think anything of it. I just kept going to work, doing all my normal stuff. And then finally, just one day, my left leg just decided to swell up, just probably 3 inches bigger than my right leg. And so I was running around work asking everyone, is this normal? Is this normal? They're like, no, that's not normal. And so I decided to call my chiropractor because for whatever reason I thought maybe my lower pelvis was out of alignment and it just needed to be popped back in place. And so I went to my chiropractor and I was just like, hey, my left leg is super swollen. I think my back's out of alignment. Like, I need you to help me. And he's like, I think it's much more than that. And he's like, to be honest, I think you need to go to the hospital. So I went to the ER and they took me back for an ultrasound, and they found a massive blood clot in my left iliac vein and diagnosed me with Thurner syndrome. They told me that if I move, my vein could burst and I could die. So I was kind of freaked out, and I didn't have service in the emergency room. My dad was home because we didn't think it was a big deal because we didn't know what was going on with me, and my mom and sister were eating dinner because it was getting late at night. So I was kind of freaking out because I was just like, okay, I can't even go to the bathroom or I'm gonna die. Well, my family came back and they're just like, okay, well, we have to prep you for emergency surgery and, get the blood clot out. So I was instantly prepped for emergency surgery, and they kept me awake for the surgery, which honestly was the worst time of my life, the worst pain I'll ever feel in my life. I could feel them cleaning out the blood clot. I could feel them placing the stent. I was screaming and crying so bad that I ended up making myself pass out because it hurt so bad. And after my surgery, I was still bawling. Even when I woke up, I blacked out and woke up and was still bawling because I was in so much pain. And they took me back to my room. I only stayed one night in the hospital. And they told me, you have Thurner syndrome. It's basically where the arteries in your pelvis push down on the veins in your pelvis and create blood clots. I'm probably one of the youngest people to have it. It's pretty rare. It's mainly common in older people. There are young people that are starting to get it more, but I'm one of the youngest, and to be honest, a lot of doctors don't know much about it. So I had one doctor telling me everything's gonna be fine, we're gonna put you on Eliquis, and the first year is the hardest year, so your stent could pitch off, you can get another blood clot, any of that stuff. But they're like, I think we did a good job, we placed your stent, you'll be fine, da da da. They sent me home. And then I had another doctor that was like, no, I think you need to go see a blood specialist, get your blood checked, and do all this other stuff. And then another doctor telling me not to do that because it has to do with the anatomy of my body and all that stuff. So I ended up going home super confused with my parents. We had no idea what to do. And so we're just like, okay, well, we'll just go to the checkups every couple of months. I think I have to do my first checkup 1 month after my surgery, my second checkup 3 months after my surgery, 6 months after my surgery, and then yearly after that. So we went and, got my checkups. They said everything was fine, everything looks good. And they took me off my Eliquis after 3 months since I had my blood clot. So I started feeling weight in my left leg, and it was just off. It was a weird feeling. I didn't know how to explain it. So I told my mom, I was like, I think I need to go to the doctor and, you know, have them check for blood clots. So I went back to that place, and luckily, well, not luckily, people apparently don't know where to look for blood clots when you have Thurner syndrome. They are supposed to look more in like your stomach area, by your belly button, and your abdomen area, but these ultrasound techs were looking down my leg and like where my leg bends. So I went there, and they're just like, you know, you have low blood flow in your left leg, but you'll be fine. We'll put you on Eliquis again and, you know, come back in 3 months. And I was just like, you know, something feels wrong. And they're just like, well, if your leg is 3 inches bigger, then come back in. But other than that, like, I think you're fine. I was like, okay. So I ended up going home, and I think it was about maybe 2-3 weeks later, maybe a month later, my left leg swelled up 4 inches bigger than my right leg. And I looked at my mom, and I started to get excruciating pain in my left side of my abdomen. And when I had went to the doctor, they told me, you know, do exercise, it helps with the blood flow, wear compression socks, da-da-da-da. I was like, okay. So I decided to go on a hike with my leg 4 inches bigger than the other, and it was the worst thing I could have done. I could barely get down the mountain. So I came home, and I was like, okay, we need to go to the emergency room. Like, I know something's wrong. I have to have a blood clot. So we went to the emergency room, and they did an ultrasound. And sure enough, they didn't find the clot. They sent me home from the ER, told me, well, I think you should start Coumadin. And so I was just like, okay, well, why Coumadin? And I actually met a girl there that has Thurner syndrome, and she goes to a specialist, and the specialist said, you know, Coumadin's the best for what you have. But my doctors were against it. So they put me on Coumadin for a day, and they're like, okay, go get your INR checked the next day. So I went to my primary care doctor, and he was like, you have a blood clot. There's no doubt in my mind you have a blood clot. Like, why did they send you home? And I was like, they said I'm fine. He's like, your leg is 4 inches bigger than the other leg. Like, you need to go to the hospital. So he called his friend, which is a surgeon that works on blood clots and stuff like that, and was just like, hey, like, this is her symptoms, this is what's going on. He's like, okay, I'll schedule her for surgery tomorrow. We'll get her in. I know it sounds like she has a blood clot, so we'll just go in, make sure her stents are open. You know, we'll do surgery, and if she has a blood clot, we'll clear it out. And if she doesn't have a blood clot, then we'll just make sure everything's okay. So they took me off Coumadin because they didn't want me on Coumadin, and put me on Lobinox, I believe, or I was on Xarelto. I was on either or, one of the two. I was on both, I believe. No, I was on Lobinox. And so I was on Lobinox. I was doing injections, and I went and had surgery that next day, and I was awake for that surgery. Luckily, they drugged me fairly decently, but I could still feel it. And he said that my stent pinched off, and he had to add 2 more stents. So I had 3 stents, and he ended up telling me that he actually sent me home that day. I didn't even stay a night in the hospital. So he sent me home and was just like, okay, you know, we didn't clean out all the clot because you were in a lot of pain. We want you to come back for a 3rd surgery so we can open up your stents more and, you know, clean out the rest of that clot. So I was just like, okay, well, why wouldn't you just get it all out? Like, I'm in pain, yeah, but I don't want to go under surgery again. So I went home, and they put me on Xarelto, and Xarelto was making me super sick. I was clotting a bunch. I ended up becoming anemic because I was losing so much blood from the Xarelto. that girl that I talked to in the hospital that had May Thurner syndrome was like, here's the number to the specialist. So I called the specialist. I kind of told her what was going on. I was like, they want me to come in for a third surgery, but I prefer you to do my third surgery to make sure that they did everything right and all of that. And she's like, I think you need to get here right away. She's like, I definitely want to see like what's going on. So I flew to Arizona and I canceled my surgery with a doctor in Utah. So I flew to Arizona, and she has an ultrasound tech that she thinks is the best ultrasound tech for what I have. She knows exactly where to look, and she's really great at her job. So she looked through all my stents, and I didn't even know I was clotted again for a third time, because I was told that he left a little clot in there, but that I was fine, and the Xarelto and the Lovenox will get rid of it. So I went to Arizona, got my ultrasound done, and I was completely clotted again. All of my stents were clotted, all 3 of them. And so she ended up doing surgery the next day. She had to clean out a bunch of my stents. She had to place a tube in the back of my leg and pump heparin into me. And then she told me that I started to get low blood flow on the right side of my pelvis, which May Thurner syndrome is typically in the left side of your body, but it is rarely on occasions on the right side. And so she's like, we're gonna have to take you back into surgery. So I went back into surgery the very next day, and they ended up placing 2 more stents. So I have 5 stents now, and I ended up having tubes in the back of both of my legs pumping blood thinners into me. And I ended up having to stay in the ICU for almost 2 weeks. It was like a week and a half. And she put me on Coumadin, and she kind of explained to me that Coumadin is different than all the other blood thinners. It is the strongest, and it's pretty bad for you. I mean, it's rat poisoning. But Eliquis, Lovenox, Xarelto, those blood thinners, yes, they help thin your blood and prevent blood clots, but if you already have a blood clot, then Coumadin will dissolve blood clots. So I'm on Coumadin now, and I'll be on Coumadin probably the rest of my life. And it kind of sucks because they say when you're on Coumadin, don't eat any greens, vitamin K, But my doctor was like, I want you to be on a greens diet. You are 21. You need to still eat those vegetables. And so I have a little notebook over here. Oh, I almost fell. And so I just kind of keep track of what I eat and how much Coumadin I take, what my INR that was that day. And I don't know if you guys know, but your INR is how thin or thick your blood is. So there's like a certain medium I'm supposed to be at to where it's good for you and where it's really terrifying for you, because if your blood's too thin, you can have internal bleeding. I've had my blood super thin, and I've gotten really lightheaded where I wanted to faint. And if your blood's too thick, you get another blood clot maybe. So that's what I keep track on, is this notebook of what I eat. I'm still figuring out what has vitamin K in it. There's a lot of stuff that has vitamin K in it, and everyone says it's just dark green leafy stuff, but there's fruit that has vitamin K in it, there's eggs that have vitamin K in it, there's all kinds of stuff that has vitamin K in it, so my levels have been out of this world lately, and so I'm still trying to figure that out. I do have a lot of meds I have to take. When you're on Coumadin, you have to monitor to what your levels are. So if I'm super high one day, then I need to eat lots of spinach, something that has a lot of vitamin K in it, and then I need to take a lower dose of my Coumadin. And if my blood is too thick, then I need to take a higher dose of Coumadin. So this is kind of like what I carry around with me all the time. Just, all these pills, and each one of them are different milligrams of Coumadin. So every week on like a Friday, I have to go into my doctor and get my blood tested. And so I go check my levels and then accommodate to that. I am having a 5th surgery coming up. I was diagnosed with pelvic congestive syndrome. It is where you have varicose veins in your stomach, and one of my ovaries is, I guess its blood flow is flowing the opposite way of where it should be. So it's causing a lot of pain and discomfort in my stomach. And so October 5th of next week, 2017, I will be having my 5th surgery. I have to fly to Arizona to see my specialist, and she'll be doing the surgery. Right now, I am trying to get my own INR machine because I will be on Coumadin the rest of my life. So I need to have one of those machines at my house so it's more convenient for me to get my blood drawn and check my levels instead of having to go to a clinic every time. And my insurance didn't approve it. So I'm currently fighting with some companies to try to get that approved, but it is going to cost some money. So I did make a GoFundMe. And I originally didn't want to make a GoFundMe, but I have had 4 surgeries in the last 9 months. I'm having my 5th one next week. And I have quit my job because my job didn't really like me coming and going with my surgeries as much. So I figured I would go get my 5th surgery taken care of and then get a job, worry about a job. So pretty much, you know, I have a lot of bills. So this is my lovely folder, and I keep track of all my bills in here. I don't know if you guys can see that. I appreciate everyone that has donated for me. It's helped a lot. There's no greater feeling than the feeling of having a bill paid off. I have multiple bills that are on payment plans right now, and I'm working towards getting those paid off. Luckily, I'm pretty good with money, so I'm getting stuff paid off one bill at a time. But going to Arizona all these times is taking a huge penny out of my pocket. So if you guys could please share and donate, it would help a lot. I mean, I'm still getting bills coming in. This isn't even all of them. I have some that are downstairs that I just don't even want to look at because I have way too many. And so everything and anything helps. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Right now, I'm supposed to be learning the difference between having a blood clot and not having a blood clot. But since I've had a blood clot for so long, and they've never fully gotten one out until my last 2 surgeries, I just can't tell the difference. I'm still in pain. I still get swelling sometimes. Hopefully this 5th surgery is my last surgery, but since the only person that specializes in Thurner syndrome is in Arizona, all my checkups will be in Arizona. I will have to fly out there every time. Since I have blood clots in my legs, I am not supposed to be in a car for long periods of times, so that's why we don't drive. And yeah, anything helps. So if you guys could please like and share this, I would really appreciate it. Bye.